Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. So let's get started. Number 5 was Father Stew, which made $5.4 million this weekend, and since it opened on Wednesday, that adds to a domestic total of $7.7 million, and that total stays the same worldwide as it hasn't been released in any international markets as of yet. I don't think it's going to bother anyone that I don't talk too much about this movie because, let's be real, everyone was expecting this movie to land around this range. No one was really expecting this to do blockbuster numbers or even safe numbers. The marketing was lackluster, the buzz wasn't that strong, and reviews were very mixed. It definitely seemed like this movie was just gonna come and go at the box office, and it did really meet my expectations at the very least. I wasn't expecting this movie to do all that well at the box office. Maybe Mark Wahlberg and, for God knows whatever reason, Mel Gibson may attract some attention in viewers, and with it being based off of a true story and being centered around God, being released around Easter, it could have helped, but it clearly wasn't the case here. Many people would rather celebrate Easter than go seeing a movie to celebrate Easter, if you will. Not much more else to say here. It's a movie. It opened, and it's probably not going to be in the top 5 for much longer, but hey, it cracked the top 5 at the very least, so there's that, I guess. Number 4 was Everything Everywhere All at Once, making $6.1 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $17 million and its worldwide total of $18 million. So many of you are probably surprised that this movie was able to crack into the top 5, and many of you are probably wondering what it is. It's an A24 film directed by Daniels, the duo behind Swiss Army Man, and now they've done this movie. It's garnered a huge amount of critical praise from both critics and audiences. It's gotten so many great reviews from critics and is in fact the highest rated film on Letterboxd officially at the time of this recording, because things may change, but as far as right now, that is certainly an accomplishment to say the least. It's been garnering huge buzz across many people and fans of A24 and just general moviegoers, and because of that buzz, it's been released in limited release and thus has been expanding as time goes on, and with each consecutive week it's been improving upon its initial box office totals. Especially this week, it was able to improve 2% from last weekend, which is very solid, and solid enough to crack into the top 5, which was something I wasn't really expecting because it was still an A24 film, and I wasn't sure if the buzz and the hype online would help carry it to becoming one of the big movies of the weekend, which I was certainly wrong for. And you know what? I'm actually happy that I'm wrong, because I like seeing movies like this that you don't expect, as I've said many times throughout this series, crack into the top 5. It allows for something exciting to check out at the end of the week and exciting to talk about, because it's honestly quite impressive to see this movie continue to improve with each week, garnering more buzz and more success at the box office. The film only costed $25 million to make, and it's already about to surpass that both domestically and worldwide in the coming weeks for sure, if it continues to do the incredible holds it has been for the past couple of weeks, which I'm sure it will be able to. So yeah, a very solid weekend for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm very happy that it's doing well, and hopefully it'll be able to hold well for the remaining weeks. It will be interesting to see where it goes with all the big blockbusters coming our way. The summer movie season is upon us, and that is going to be a lot of competition for this movie to face off. But otherwise, yeah, this movie is doing very well for itself. Great job. Number 3 was The Lost City, making $6.2 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $78 million and a worldwide total of $87 million. So The Lost City is continuing to hang strong there. It is in the exact same spot it was last week at number 3 and was able to hold so well that it outlasted both Ambulance and even Morbius in the top 5, which was something even I wasn't expecting. And you know how well I thought Morbius was gonna do. But anyways, yeah, this movie continues to be kind of a sleeper hit at the box office despite not doubling its budget at the moment due to it not being released in any international countries as of yet, but that should increase very soon, as I believe this is the weekend or in the coming weeks where it will finally start releasing in more international countries, so that'll definitely help boost this movie's total to where it needs to go to be a success, because right now, even with that, it's doing a lot better than I thought it would. In all honesty, I thought it was going to probably be okay, and while it still is okay, it hasn't become a huge blockbuster of the likes of Free Guy or Ghostbusters. I'm still quite impressed with how well it's doing. Once again, it's holding very well. It just dipped 31% from last week. Very solid hold. It shows that word of mouth is still helping this movie out, and it's also becoming very solid counter programming to the many blockbusters that we've discussed many times throughout this series when talking about this movie. And overall, it just continues to show how strong word of mouth is, and just being another hit for modern studio comedies in an era where we don't really get those, or as much as we used to anymore. Obviously, this is another big win for Paramount, who have just been on a roll as of late, and given where it's at domestically, I can see it surpassing Scream 5 domestically. Again, don't think it's gonna cross 100 million domestically. That just kind of seems like it's out of the film's reach at the moment, but worldwide, I guarantee that it'll be able to get to that total, especially with it coming out in international countries very soon. So yeah, overall, another solid weekend for The Lost City. Very pleased to see where it's at. I'm sure everyone who saw, made, and liked this movie is very satisfied to where it's at. We'll see where it goes from here against the bigger blockbusters on the horizon, but yeah, Lost City continues to be a very solid hit at the box office. Number 2, ironically enough, was Sonic the Hedgehog 2, making $29 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $118 million and a worldwide total of $231 million. So yeah, this movie did take quite a hit this weekend. It fell 59% from last weekend. That is a very steep drop off for this film in its second weekend. Obviously, there are some factors. One, and probably the biggest, is, once again, as I mentioned earlier this video, it was Easter weekend this weekend, and I'm sure many families would rather wait for the Easter Bunny than go check out Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at the movie theater this weekend, which was probably a big factor as into that. And so this movie is probably going to need to pick up the pace and bring itself back up before, once again, the competition arrives. But I do believe that this film is still going to be fine, because like many films that have faced steeper drops like Venom Let There Be Carnage and even F9 The Fast Saga, I do believe this movie is going to pick itself back up, and this movie is still doing very well otherwise. It is the third biggest movie of the year domestically, and also the third film this year to surpass 100 million domestically, roughly around 20 million or over 20 million behind Uncharted's domestic total, which I'm sure it will surpass by next week. And in terms of video game movies, it is now the 5th biggest movie based off of a video game, topping the first Angry Birds movie back in 2016, and sits behind Lara Croft Tomb Raider, Uncharted, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and the first Sonic the Hedgehog. It'll definitely be climbing up the chart very soon. Worldwide, it is at number 19, so it's still got a long ways to go, but otherwise, again, gonna really move up the charts very soon. Hopefully it can do that a little bit quicker so we can discuss that more. And in terms of family films, it is already the second biggest film of the post-theater closure era, topping Encanto both domestically and worldwide, and sits behind Sing 2 both domestically and worldwide. Again, I think it's going to be able to surpass that, maybe not very soon, but certainly in the future, in the coming weeks. So if you were a little upset or disappointed that the film had a significant drop, I'm sure it will be able to pick itself up soon. It's still got a huge praise and acclaim from not only Sonic fans but moviegoers. Again, it received an A on Cinema Score. Word of mouth is very solid, especially with the daily numbers, as the daily numbers before this weekend were very solid. It was doing very well during its first initial week, which is a very strong indicator for where this movie's going. And again, this movie is still a huge hit. It has now more than doubled its initial budget of around 90 to 110 million dollars, which is very solid. I'm certain that Paramount is satisfied where this movie is at. I think this movie is still going to improve upon week by week, and I think once again, like Venom, like F9, The Fast Saga, this movie's going to bring itself back up and start picking up the pace. Although it will be interesting to see where this movie goes, as while it's still got a couple weeks before Doctor Strange, it will be facing off its first real big stiff competition, as there is a new animated family feature film starring anthropomorphic animals hitting theaters this weekend. More on that later. That I think will start to steal a bit of this film's audience. But even if so, this movie is still doing incredibly well. I'm sure everyone is satisfied where it's at, and I'm sure even more people are going to be satisfied where it's going. So once again, despite a steep drop, I still see bright things for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, and that was Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, opening with 42 million this weekend domestically and 193 million worldwide. So, let's start with some positives. It's the fourth biggest opening weekend of the year domestically. That's good, right? It topped Morbius. It sits behind Uncharted, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and the Batman, obviously. But fourth isn't bad, and it's about to cross 200 million worldwide. That's the film's initial budget. That's not terrible, right? Right? Okay, let's cut the charade. Folks, this is a flop. This is a big flop, not only just in terms of like the Wizarding World franchise, but this is in general is just a flop. $200 million this movie costed to make. $200 million, and it scored the lowest opening weekend domestically, as far as I know at least, for any film in the Harry Potter franchise, topping the previous record holder of the title, which was, ironically enough, the previous entry in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, Crimes of Grindelwald. I was skeptical about this movie's performance last week, and I was right to do so. It seemed that this was a franchise that was on the decline. It seemed like no one was really interested or excited to see this new installment. No one cared anymore. The spark and hype for this franchise was just basically gone. There was a lot of things in this film's way preventing it from being a hit. Obviously the stuff with J.K. Rowling, the miscasting, but even just regular things like the marketing was very lackluster. I didn't see too much promotion for this movie, and that honestly kind of derailed the film. I don't think too many people were aware of this movie, or just really in general cared about this movie. No one really cared about this prequel series to Harry Potter, and I definitely think this movie is going to struggle in terms of holds, because if it opened this low and people cared this little, just imagine how it's going to compete with the other huge blockbusters coming out in the upcoming weeks. I mean, for crying out loud, even with the worldwide total somewhat helping this movie out, I'm even concerned if it's going to be able to double the budget worldwide, as it's even underperforming in the UK, and it's been out for several weeks over there and is failing to meet expectations over there, which proves that even international countries and fans of this franchise are slowly declining. So, yeah, this is a very disappointing opening weekend for this film. I think it's safe to say that those fourth and fifth installments are not going to start production soon. As Warner Brothers said, they would wait to see how this movie would do on opening weekend, and well, the results are in, folks. What do you think's gonna happen next? I think I know the answer. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters this weekend. And this weekend we've got 3 new wide releases, and the funny thing about all of these movies is that they are all original films. Technically one of them is based off of a beloved book series, but given how the studio making this movie has handled other films based off books, it seems that it's going to be more of its own thing. And from what I've heard from fans of the book series, it is technically more of its own thing, so my point still stands. But anyways, it's a pretty interesting weekend. We'll see which one of these movies takes the crowning spot. The first one we'll be discussing is The Northmen. This is a new film from Robert Eggers, who you may have heard of. He directed some pretty notable films for the past couple of years. He directed The Witch and The Irishman, both beloved, critically acclaimed, audience acclaimed, supposedly masterpieces of film, and he's continuing his trilogy of movies starting with the word "the" with The Northmen, a Viking action, bloody, violent, again, action film, period piece, if you will. Now, he has quite honestly gotten a huge fan base online, so obviously there's been some buzz around this film. They've been marketing it pretty decently, in my opinion. Not a grand marketing campaign or whatnot, but you know, I've seen promotion for it, and reviews have been very good from what I've heard. Lots of people loving and praising this movie. However, the thing holding this back for me is the buzz. Now, I know I just said that he has a big fan base, but I don't think it's as big and as grand as I believe the studio thinks it is. They gave this movie a $90 million budget, and I think that's a bit of a risk right now, especially with, again, summer movie season coming up, and putting out this Viking action thriller period piece, if you will, in the midst of it might be a bit of a risky decision on their part. The buzz isn't really that strong. I haven't heard too many people talking about this outside of those who are well aware of the director's other work, so that's going to be a concern. So we'll see how well this movie does. The other film releasing is The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This is a new R-rated action comedy starring Nicolas Cage playing, well, Nicolas Cage. And this is a really interesting one. It's got a very weird premise. It's about Nicolas Cage meeting one of his biggest fans, but he turns out to be a crime lord, so he has to go undercover and with the FBI and investigate him. It's, again, very weird premise, and I've been hearing a lot of people talk about and getting interested in this movie from the very moment it was announced. It premiered at South by Southwest earlier this year and received critical acclaim. Many people are loving and praising this movie. The thing that is holding this back for me is, well, the marketing, honestly. You think with a movie as weird and outlandish as this movie with this premise is, you'd think they go pretty out there and as bizarre with their marketing, but really they haven't. It's just been a couple of commercials and promos and whatnot, and I really don't believe they fully embraced the insanity of this movie, and I think that's going to really deter people from seeing it, because it just looks like a regular comedy. It doesn't look like it's going to stand out from the others unless they already know what the movie is about. So this one's going to be really interesting to see if the marketing is actually captivate audiences, because I could be wrong. Maybe this movie is the most promoted thing of the year. I could be wrong, and this movie becomes a huge, gigantic hit. But yeah, I feel like the marketing is really underselling and underutilizing the core essence of this movie, and that is it's bizarre. So we'll see how well this does. And then the last film hitting theaters this weekend in wide release is The Bad Guys. This is a new film from DreamWorks Animation, and I gotta be honest, out of all the movies hitting theaters this weekend, the new ones at least, this has the most amount of things working for this movie. First off, the marketing has been stupendous. I've been seeing tons and tons of promotion for it. They did like little vignettes with the director and the choreographer and behind the scenes stuff. They also did some funny little promos. Like there was this one promo I saw that was like a parody of a couch mattress sale commercial, and then the ad was interrupted by the characters stealing it to promote the movie. That was beautiful. And the buzz is also very strong with this movie. From the moment the trailer dropped, it garnered a huge amount of buzz I haven't seen for a DreamWorks movie in ages. So much so that people decided to make fan art of the characters and for the movie, some of which is gorgeous, lovely, and beautiful. Others should stay on that part of the internet. And reviews are also really spectacular. It's been getting insanely positive reviews from what I've seen. And another interesting thing to note is that this movie was also released well before we were going to get it in the US, as it released in several countries like Israel and the UK at least a month before it came out. Some countries got it in March, and it's been doing really well over there. It has made $50 million internationally and worldwide against a budget of $80 million. Very solid start. And because it's been a while since a new animated film, Sonic 2 was the first family film to release in theaters, but The Bad Guys will be the very first fully animated film to release in theaters since Sing 2, again since Hotel Transylvania moved to Amazon and Turning Red went to Disney Plus. So I think many people are looking for that animation feeling of seeing something in a movie theater. So yeah, all in all, a lot of things working for this movie. While I don't think it's going to have a blockbuster opening, I do think it's going to have an opening that defies expectations. But we'll see how well this movie does, as well as the rest of the movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you all think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links right there. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.